A Choice of Gods by Clifford D. Simak. So first off, I'd like to give a little shout out to a fellow YouTuber, Sean D. Standfast. He's doing a whole event the entire year, kind of celebrating Clifford Simak and his writing. And they started off with City, and I thought about reading along on that, but I have future plans on the channel to do kind of a special video for that one because it's one of my all-time favorite science fiction novels. But he's doing a lot of events throughout the year. I'll post a link to his video, and they will be reading this book, Choice of Gods, in the future. But, you know, this was kind of the next book of Clifford's that I wanted to read, and I didn't want to read City, so I went ahead and read this one. Now, this came out in 1972, and I have this, what I believe is the first paperback U.S. version of the book, published by Berkeley, and it's got some nice cover art there. And I also got this Valentine Del Rey edition, and it's got some really cool artwork there, showing one of the characters in the novel. And so let's just kind of get into it. Now, this book really hooked me on the premise, and overall I really enjoyed the book, but I'll talk about the pros and cons, why this probably isn't one of my favorite Simak books that I've read. But the premise is just incredible. So in the year 2135, the population of the world is up to about 8 billion people, and there's lots of robots who are kind of taking care of all the necessities of humans, so they're able to kind of, you know, do whatever they want. And for no reason that we're told, just the majority of all the population just disappears off the face of the earth. So we're left with like probably around a few hundred people left that we know of, and they're all around the Midwest of the United States. And also, people's longevity has drastically increased. So their lifespans have gone up to probably around like 5,000 to 8,000 years. But it depends on how old you were when this event happened. So one of the characters, he was like 60 years old, and he only ended up living like another 2,000 years or somewhere around there. So that's kind of what happened to start this off. And the way the book is written, it's written far in the future past this, like thousands of years in the future, because some events have happened that kind of start explaining why this event occurred. But throughout the book, we have these kind of passages going back in time that kind of explain what's been going on for these thousands of years, from the time this event took place all the way up to the current plot line of the novel. And these excerpts are from one of the main characters when this happened. He was this man who was like in his 60s, and he came from a kind of wealthy family. And what they did was they kind of chose to try to preserve as much of mankind's knowledge and create a library and really focus on preserving this knowledge and kind of trying to figure out what happened. Now, this family, they end up, you know, living for thousands of years. Not only the man who was 60, he passes away, but his descendants kind of carry this on. And they also start getting telepathic abilities to communicate off-world at some point. Now, also, there's a couple other groups that are left. One group is a Native American tribe who, when this event happened, they kind of chose to go back to their old nomadic ways and live off the land. So you get them and a whole plot line revolving around them, and they'll kind of go off into the wilds for however long, and they'll come back to our wealthy family and communicate with them. They're friends, and they'll kind of talk about what each of them has learned along the way. And then we also have another group who is kind of west of these two main groups. It's not really clear much about what happened with them. We really just have one of the members of this group who travels and bumps into our characters. And so we get some things going on with him as well. There's also robots who are left. Some of them start taking care of some of the humans that are left. Not the Native American tribe. They kind of shun the robots in a way. But some of the other ones that are left end up kind of starting their own civilization. And like I showed you here, one of them kind of starts doing a lot of research on Christianity and religion in general. And so we get a whole plot line going on with them, and they all kind of interact with one another, but most of the time they're kind of doing their own thing. There's also an alien that shows up at some point, and it's described as like a can of worms. And there's kind of a thing going on with him, or the alien, and then as we progress through the story, we start getting some of these answers, like why were these humans just stripped from the planet? Where did they go? Are they ever coming back? And so that's really the bulk of this book. It really uses this plot to go over a bunch of themes like philosophy, religious ideals, what it is to have a soul. There's like the robot theme. Can a robot have a soul? There's artificial intelligence brought up. There's all these really deep themes brought up throughout the whole book. And that's really what this novel really is a way to kind of use it as a thought experiment to go over these themes. Because like a lot of Clifford's books and a lot of books from this time, it doesn't spend a lot of time explaining the science behind these things that happened, and he probably really couldn't describe the science in just over 200 pages or just under 200 pages. That's what this novel clocks in at. So you're not going to get a lot of background of how it happened, why it happened. It's just it happened, and here are these people or robots or aliens dealing with this and what's going on through their minds. So you get some really cool passages, some really interesting stream of conscious through some of our characters that I really enjoyed. Especially the beginning of chapter 30 was a really interesting chapter where an older character is kind of thinking about his life and what it means to be getting older, even on this extended timeline. And it's just a very beautifully well written chapter, especially the beginning of it. So if you've read this book in the past and you got it sitting on your shelf, go grab chapter 30 and just read through it a little bit. It's just, Clifford's writing is just amazing. So, pros and cons, of course, his writing, this is a thought experiment to go over these themes. He makes you think about the themes. He doesn't supply a lot of answers. There's also themes about, what ownership means to things, and if it's a deterrent to society, or using robots as an aid, if that's good or bad. There's just so many themes that he goes over in this book. So I would say if you've read City and Way Station, which are Clifford's main known novels, then yeah, at some point read this. Of course, it's a great one. I maybe wouldn't start off with Simak's writing with this one. I would definitely recommend people read City or Way Station first. But after you get those two out of the way, I think this is right along the lines of a lot of his other books that he's written. So highly recommended if you're a fan of his writing and just a science fiction fan in general. So that's it for that one. And next up, I'm reading Venus of Dreams by Pamela Sargent. This is another book in the series that I'm doing. So just look for that video review coming out next. And once again, thanks for watching.